In a decisive move reflecting the escalating global race in artificial intelligence, Chinese President Xi Jinping has emphasized the strategic importance of AI for national development, positioning it as a key focus for China's future technological ambitions. In a recent high-level Communist Party meeting, Xi articulated his vision for China to emerge as a leader in AI, urging the nation to harness its unique system of resource mobilization to foster innovation and self-reliance in this transformative sector. Xi's remarks highlight a broader strategy aimed at navigating the challenges posed by increasing international scrutiny and competition, particularly from the United States. We must comprehensively advance sci-tech innovation and firmly grasp the initiative, he stated, underscoring the urgency of closing the technological gap with global leaders. This call to action comes as China seeks to balance rapid advancements in AI with concerns over data privacy and the potential military applications of such technologies. China's AI ambition is exemplified by the emergence of DeepSeek, an AI model developed by the tech firm Highflyer that has garnered attention for its competitive pricing and performance. Launched in early 2025, DeepSeek is positioned as a formidable alternative to Western models, raising alarms in the U.S. government. The U.S. House Select Committee on Strategic Competition recently branded DeepSeek a profound threat to national security, citing its alleged ties to the Chinese Communist Party and concerns regarding data privacy and military applications. The backlash against DeepSeek has not been limited to the U.S. Countries such as India, Japan, and Australia have imposed restrictions on its use, among government officials expressing fears about data leaks and espionage. India's Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology highlighted DeepSeek's data collection practices, raising potential violations of its Digital Personal Data Protection Act. These restrictions have prompted Beijing to accuse Western nations of politicizing technology and trade, with Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian condemning the bans as detrimental to innovation and global cooperation. As the U.S.-China tech rivalry intensifies, characterized by tightened export controls on advanced semiconductors and AI technologies, China has doubled down on domestic innovation. Companies like Huawei and Baidu are making significant strides in AI chip development despite facing Western sanctions. A 2025 analysis by the Brookings Institution noted that while China excels in applied AI such as facial recognition and smart cities, it continues to lag in foundational research. Challenges remain for China's AI strategy, including a shortage of top-tier talent and an over-reliance on state-driven investment. Internationally, China's rise in AI presents both opportunities and concerns. Developing nations in Africa and Southeast Asia have welcomed affordable Chinese AI tools which provide cost-effective solutions for various sectors, including healthcare and education. However, fears about data sovereignty and dependency on Chinese technology have led to calls for stricter oversight, with the European Union exploring a balanced approach to AI governance that upholds ethical standards. Xi's vision for AI is part of a larger agenda aimed at achieving technological self-sufficiency by 2035, as outlined in China's 14th Five-Year Plan. With initiatives like the Made in China 2025 strategy, Beijing seeks to position AI as a cornerstone of economic growth and geopolitical influence. However, the path forward is fraught with challenges, including rising trade tensions, ethical concerns surrounding AI surveillance, and the implications of autonomous systems. As the global landscape continues to evolve, the competition in AI will likely intensify, with significant implications for international relations, technological governance, and the future of innovation. The developments in China's AI sector will be closely watched, as they may reshape not only regional dynamics but also the broader technological framework on a global scale. In the ever-evolving landscape of international trade, the recent developments surrounding the U.S.-China trade relationship have sparked significant debate and concern. As President Trump navigates the complexities of his administration's aggressive trade policies, China has been unyielding in its response, creating a tense atmosphere that could have far-reaching implications for both economies. Reports indicate that China's leadership has continued to contradict Trump's claims regarding progress in trade talks, revealing a stark divergence in the narratives being presented by both sides. This lack of alignment not only complicates diplomatic relations but also highlights the precarious nature of the economic partnership that has global repercussions. Analysts suggest that China is playing a long game, betting that the U.S. economy will falter under the weight of punitive tariffs and deteriorating GDP figures, while Trump remains hopeful that his approach will ultimately yield favorable trade agreements. The latest economic data paints a concerning picture for the U.S., with the gross domestic product contracting in the first quarter of 2025. This contraction marks a significant political risk for Trump, who has long positioned himself as a master of economic management. The downturn follows a tumultuous period on Wall Street, which saw its worst performance at the start of a presidential term in over half a century. The uncertainty has left businesses and consumers alike questioning what lies ahead, particularly as Trump's trade war continues to disrupt supply chains and raise prices on consumer goods. Despite the challenges, Trump remains optimistic about securing lucrative trade deals, asserting that nations will eventually come to the negotiating table to roll back tariffs. However, public sentiment indicates skepticism. Recent polling shows that a majority of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the economy, which could complicate his political future if economic conditions do not improve. Many economic advisors within his administration have begun to express concerns about the execution of his tariff strategy, suggesting that the chaotic implementation may hinder rather than help American businesses. The stakes are high for both Trump and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. Each leader is attempting to assert dominance in a high-stakes game of economic chicken, with both sides refusing to back down. Xi's administration has remained largely silent following Trump's escalations, leading to speculation that they may be anticipating a more favorable political climate to emerge from the economic turmoil in the U.S. As tariffs reach unprecedented levels, reports indicate that trade has effectively ground to a halt, with shipping companies opting to turn back freighters to avoid incurring costs associated with the tariffs. In addressing the economic challenges posed by these tariffs, Trump has downplayed the immediate impact on American consumers, suggesting that few will notice the effects in their day-to-day lives. However, as prices for essential goods, particularly those imported from China, are expected to rise, the disconnect between his rhetoric and the realities faced by ordinary Americans may become increasingly difficult to ignore. The ongoing saga will undoubtedly continue to unfold, with critical negotiations on the horizon. Trump's administration has hinted at potential agreements with various nations, including Canada and South Korea, but the skepticism surrounding these prospects remains palpable. The future of U.S.-China relations hangs in the balance as both nations grapple with the consequences of their trade policies. Whether Trump's strategy will pay off in the long run or lead to deeper economic woes will become clearer in the months ahead, as global markets remain on edge, closely monitoring developments in this high-stakes economic drama. In a dramatic escalation of economic tensions, China's trade landscape is facing unprecedented challenges as a result of the tariffs imposed by former President Donald Trump. Recent data reveal that the country's manufacturing sector is experiencing its most significant downturn since the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Purchasing Managers' Index (PMI) for China fell below the critical threshold of 50 in April, signaling a contraction that has alarmed economists and policymakers alike. This downturn coincides with a notable drop in new export orders, which plummeted to levels not seen since December 2022, when the nation was grappling with stringent lockdowns. Major financial institutions including UBS and Goldman Sachs have reacted by slashing their growth forecasts for China, indicating a growing consensus that the impacts of the tariffs are more severe than initially anticipated. "It's definitely worse than expected. It shows tariffs started to bite," remarked Robin Xing, chief China economist at Morgan Stanley, during a recent appearance on Bloomberg television. The origins of this economic malaise can be traced back to a series of aggressive tariff measures initiated by Trump, starting with a 10% levy on Chinese goods in February 2025. As Beijing retaliated, the tariffs escalated to a staggering 145% on Chinese imports, while Chinese goods entering the U.S. are now met with a 125% tariff rate. These punitive measures have led to a drastic reduction in Chinese cargo shipments, with reports indicating a decline of up to 60% in recent months. Goldman Sachs estimates that as many as 16 million jobs in China could be at risk due to this trade crackdown. Despite these mounting pressures, Chinese President Xi Jinping has adopted a defiant stance, asserting that China will never kneel to Washington. This rhetoric underscores a broader strategy, as she recently emphasized the importance of sound planning for China's economic and social development during a symposium on the upcoming 15th Five-Year Plan 2026 to 2030. He called for a focus on managing domestic affairs while addressing both development and security concerns, highlighting the need for high-quality development across various sectors. Xi's vision for the future includes fostering new productive forces tailored to local conditions, upgrading traditional industries, and advancing technological innovation. We must unswervingly manage our own affairs well and stay committed to expanding high-standard opening up, he stated, signaling a commitment to economic resilience amid external pressures. The broader implications of these developments are significant not only for China but also for the global economy, as the world's second-largest economy grapples with the fallout from U.S. trade policies. Experts like Wang Huiyao, president of the Center for China and Globalization, argue that China's capacity to stabilize global supply chains and contribute to international cooperation will be critical. The next five-year plan could cement China's position as the largest middle-class consumer market as well as a stabilizer and a growth engine for the world, he asserted. Looking ahead, the interplay between U.S. trade policies and China's economic strategies will likely shape the global economic landscape in profound ways. As both nations navigate this complex terrain, the potential for conflict or cooperation remains a pivotal question for policymakers and business leaders worldwide. With Xi reiterating China's resilience and commitment to development, the coming months will be crucial in determining the trajectory of this economic showdown. In recent weeks, tensions surrounding Taiwan have escalated dramatically, underscored by China's military exercises that many analysts interpret as preparations for a potential blockade. This development raises alarms not only in Taiwan but also within the broader international community, as the implications of such actions could reverberate across global markets and geopolitical alliances. Reports suggest that these military maneuvers are not mere displays of power but rehearsals for a more aggressive stance toward Taiwan, which China views as a breakaway province. The ongoing exercises are characterized by increased naval and air operations, with U.S. military officials noting that they resemble preparations for a forced reunification. These are not simply exercises, they are rehearsals, stated a senior defense analyst, reflecting the growing consensus among Western military observers. Taiwan's response has been to bolster its own defense measures, heightening military readiness in anticipation of a possible invasion. The island's leadership faces mounting pressure from its citizens, who are increasingly questioning their ability to withstand China's military might. A recent poll indicated that a significant portion of the Taiwanese population is growing doubtful about their chances of successfully defending against a hostile takeover. Compounding these worries is the unpredictability of U.S. foreign policy under the Trump administration. As the United States navigates its complex relationship with China, Taiwan's security remains perilously linked to the whims of American political leadership. The Trump administration's recent shifts in national security personnel, including the dismissal of National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, have added to Taiwan's anxieties. Waltz's exit marks a significant shakeup in the administration amidst criticisms of his handling of sensitive military operations and foreign policy direction. Simultaneously, China is advancing its military capabilities at an alarming rate. Satellite imagery has revealed the construction of a vast military command center near Beijing, dubbed Beijing Military City. Analysts believe this facility, which could be 10 times larger than the Pentagon, is intended as a strategic command hub and nuclear bunker. Nearly 10 times bigger than the Pentagon, it's fitting for Xi Jinping's ambitions to surpass the U.S., commented a military researcher, highlighting the significance of this development in the context of U.S.-China relations. The rapid expansion of China's nuclear arsenal, projected to reach between 1,500 and 2,000 warheads by 2035, poses an existential threat not only to Taiwan but also to regional and global stability. As tensions escalate, the potential for miscalculation or aggressive action increases, with both nations engaging in military exercises that could easily escalate into conflict. The economic ramifications of a blockade or military action against Taiwan would be severe not just for the island but for global supply chains. Taiwan is crucial to the semiconductor industry, and any disruption in its production capabilities could lead to significant shortages and price increases worldwide. As one economist pointed out, any Chinese curbs on Taiwan's trade would carry big economic costs not only for Taiwan but for economies around the globe that rely on its technology. Looking ahead, the geopolitical landscape remains fraught with uncertainty. The interplay between U.S. domestic politics, China's military ambitions, and Taiwan's precarious position will be pivotal in shaping the region's future. As both nations navigate this tense environment, the need for diplomatic engagement has never been more critical. Without a concerted effort to de-escalate the situation, the specter of military confrontation looms large, threatening to reshape the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific region. The coming months will be crucial as stakeholders on all sides grapple with the implications of these developments and seek pathways to prevent a crisis. In an era marked by geopolitical tensions and economic uncertainties, recent events in Asia have underscored the complexities of international relations, particularly in South Asia and East Asia. The ongoing trade wars initiated by the United States, juxtaposed against China's efforts to stabilize its economy and Vietnam's diplomatic maneuvers, reveal a multifaceted landscape of diplomacy and economic strategy. The U.S. has imposed the highest tariffs in a century, a move that has severely impacted global economies with particular focus on China. Dr. Dan Steinbach, an internationally recognized strategist, highlights that while these tariffs are intended to undermine China's economic recovery, the Chinese economy is showing signs of resilience. Following government stimulus measures and a focus on domestic consumption, China's GDP growth has rebounded, reaching 5.4% in the first quarter of 2025. Steinbach notes the expansion of domestic demand is no longer just a cyclical effort. It reflects the structural transformation of the Chinese economy away from exports toward greater consumption and innovation. China has shifted its economic strategy to increase consumer spending, which now constitutes nearly 45% of economic growth, signaling a departure from its reliance on exports. This pivot is complemented by government initiatives aimed at job creation and wage growth despite external challenges posed by the U.S. tariffs. The International Monetary Fund has even upgraded its outlook for China's GDP growth, showcasing a resilient economy amidst adversity. However, the U.S. tariffs, which have escalated to 145% on Chinese imports, threaten not only China's recovery but also the stability of the global economy. Steinbach warns that the repercussions could lead to a significant downgrade in U.S. economic growth and a potential recession, with global growth projections plummeting to 2.8%. This self-destructive approach, he argues, reflects poorly on U.S. leadership in international trade. Meanwhile, Vietnam finds itself at a critical juncture as it navigates the fallout from the U.S.-China trade tensions. Celebrating the 50th anniversary of its reunification, Vietnam's economy has grown impressively from under $100 in GDP per capita in the early 1970s to over $5,000 today. However, the Trump administration's tariffs have placed Vietnam's export-driven economy under strain, given that the U.S. constitutes 25% of its total exports. In response, Vietnam is leveraging its bamboo diplomacy, a flexible approach aimed at strengthening ties with various global powers while negotiating tariff reductions. Vietnam's Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh has actively engaged in diplomatic discussions with key nations, emphasizing multilateralism and cooperation in trade and security. This strategy not only aims to mitigate the impact of tariffs but also positions Vietnam as a vital player in the global economy's reshaping. In the backdrop of these economic developments, the geopolitical landscape in South Asia is equally precarious. Following a deadly terrorist attack in Kashmir, tensions between India and Pakistan have escalated, prompting India to suspend aspects of the Indus Waters Treaty and tighten border controls. China's response to this crisis has been cautious, balancing its traditional loyalty to Pakistan with the need to maintain stability in the region. Analysts suggest that China may prioritize preventing Pakistan's internal collapse, reflecting a strategic recalibration in its South Asia policy. As both India and Pakistan navigate their fraught relationship, the potential for conflict looms large. India appears poised to respond decisively, leveraging its military capabilities while simultaneously managing its complex relationship with China. This scenario underscores the delicate balance of power in South Asia and the broader implications for global stability. Looking ahead, the interplay of economic and geopolitical dynamics in Asia will undoubtedly shape the future of international relations. As nations like China and Vietnam seek to bolster their economies amidst external pressures, and as India navigates its strategic responses to regional threats, the coming months will be critical in determining the trajectory of both economic recovery and geopolitical stability in the region. The global community watches closely, recognizing that the choices made today will resonate for years to come.